me give you the more intense royal story. This is like royal evening tonight, getting ready for being with the king, all of Yom Kippur. Here we go. Finish off with this story. A bit more intense. So the king before Queen Elizabeth, as you know, who was it? Do you want to message in? Who was Rabbi Hill's little quiz tonight? Who was the king of England before Queen Elizabeth? Put the comment in. Who's going to win tonight? Who knows your royal family? Bum, bum, bum. No, it wasn't Edward. It was George VI. Thank you, the one living in Austria. How does that work? Do the Austrians know more than the English? Dearie me. Johnny Kaplan. So thanks, James, for saving us. I'm surprised Cyril, our Switzerland friend, didn't know the answer, but our Austrian friend did in the end. Anyway, King George VI was the king. And our story happened the following. There were two Jewish boys that got saved by the famous Kinder Transport. As you know, I think about 10,000 children were saved from the Holocaust and brought to the UK and went to live in orphanages and boarding schools. There were these two boys, and one of them, we know their name. His name was Brett Gertner. Brett Gertner was one of them, and he had a friend. He didn't say the name of his friend. Let's call him a friend. And they were there. They were 11 years old in an orphanage, but very, very distressed and very traumatized, missing their parents dreadfully. After Kristallnacht, they got saved, but their parents didn't. And they're distraught and distressed. And one day, there's an announcement in the school. We all need to get ready. In a few days' time, King George VI is coming to our village. We've been honored to be standing as part of the procession and to be saluting and to be singing songs and to be rejoicing and regaling in the privilege of celebrating the arrival of the king to our village. But make sure you're all on your best behavior. Anyone who wasn't on their best behavior, we might even ask them to leave the school. This is the big moment of our lives. So imagine the sight. Imagine, put yourself into the shoes of young Brett Gertner and his friends, standing there, 11-year-old boy. And the kings come, and all the entourage, and all the pomp and ceremony, and the trumpets are being blown. And the friend of Brett says, I wish I could ask the king. I wish I could ask the king to save my parents. I'm too shy. I can get in trouble. What could happen? I haven't got the guts to, but you try and go and ask. So Brett said, you're right. And he did something crazy. He ran through the barricades, stormed through, sprinted, saying, King, King, King! King George, I need to speak to you. And all of a sudden, there was this huge problem. And the bodyguards started running. They thought, well, the king's in trouble. It's a true story. They went and they caught the young boy. And he's still shouting and he's crying and he's saying, King, I need to speak to you. And the king now had heard what's happening. So the king shouts to his bodyguards, what's going on? They said, there's this young boy. He wants to speak to you. He said, okay, let him come. True story. This young boy, Brett, comes and it's in front of the king, King George VI. And he's crying. And King George says, what's wrong, young boy? What's wrong? And the boy said to the king, you really are king? He said, I'm really a king. If you're the king, you can do anything, right? He said, I can do anything. Do you care about all your citizens? I care about all my citizens. So if you cared about me and I'm your citizen, you need to help me. My parents are in trouble. They're stuck in the Holocaust. And you managed to save me, but you haven't yet been able to save them. I demand of you, save my parents and stop me crying and allow me to have my family back. The king didn't know where to put himself, didn't know what to say. It's like, I'm sorry, the war's begun. We're at war. There's not a lot I can do now. But Brett didn't give up. He said, what do you mean there's not a lot you can do? You're the king. You can do anything you want. Please, at least can you try? The king said, I'm really happy to try. Please give me their names. And he took their names down. Where's the last time you were? Where was your house? And he put down, his bodyguards wrote down all the information that Brett could muster. And that was the end of that. He went back to the line. Story over. A couple of months later, the boarding school's headmaster now wanted to have it out with the boy. They were waiting to decide what to do with him. So they finally called him in to have their meeting. You went against our regulations, didn't you? You stormed through the barricades, didn't you? And as a result of this, we have something for you. And he's petrified. What is he going to get? Is he going to get the cane? What is he going to get? And they opened up a door and in walked his parents. True story. King George managed to save his parents. And they lived happily ever after in the UK. And my dear friends, I share with you this story because in the next 48 hours, we're going to be in front of the king, not just a mortal king, a human king, the real king, the king of the world. And it's going to be up to you. If you're going to storm through the barricades, if you're going to open up your heart, if you're going to let down your walls and find a little corner and put the masa over your eyes and just cry your eyes out and say, Hashem, help. King, you can do anything. You split the Red Sea, you can get me a husband. You split the Red Sea, you can get me a child. You split the Red Sea, you can make sure we have the finances that we need to pay our bills. You split the Red Sea, you've given the Jewish people the Torah, you can let me now connect to the Torah. Whatever request you want, go for, pray for, believe it can happen. That little boy believed in the king. And because he believed in the king, and he had the strength and the confidence and the chutzpah to storm through the barricades and to open his heart, his friend said, if only I would have asked, my parents would be alive as with me as well. His friend never got over it. His friend never got over it because his friend never asked. My dear friends, you now have the chance to ask. You can ask whatever you want. Yes, we've learned tonight, it's somewhat conditional. And we need to also play our part. We need to be better. We need to be better citizens. We need to have a better relationship. We need to do our part better. We can be nicer, kinder, holier, learn more, be higher versions of ourselves. And we should try and do that. And by the way, we should have faith that Hashem will forgive us. Sunday night's all about having faith. Part of the faith is I want you to come out of Yom Kippur feeling amazing, feeling you've done everything you can. By the way, I've had a few calls from people who haven't got not feeling well, they've got colds and this and that. Even if, God forbid, someone's really not well and have had to stay in bed all Yom Kippur, as long as you do your best, that's all you can do. Just do your best. You can't do more than your best. Do your best. Open up your heart. Ask the king whatever you want, anything you need. Trust that the king will do it. Trust that you're going to be forgiven. And please, God, may Hashem write us all in the book of life. May Hashem write us all in the book of forgiveness. May Hashem write us all in the book of redemption and joy and good health and happiness. And all of those of you who want to get married, may Hashem inscribe you this year in the book of being under the chuppah with your soulmate. For all of those of you who really want to have a child, may Hashem bless you to have a child this year. All those of you who are looking for strength in financial blessing, may Hashem give you the financial blessing. For all those of you who are trying to get closer to Hashem, may Hashem, and obviously He will, give you the ability to get closer.